So, what's the next reason why track gauge isn't 4 foot 8.5 inches? Well, you might have seen some allusions to it there. It's because British Rail made it 1432 millimeters for 33 years. Between 1963 and 1996, BR reduced the track gauge from 1435. Actually, at the time, it was still in inches, so they changed it from 4 foot 8.5 inches down to 4 foot 8 3/8 inches. So an eighth of an inch narrower than rather than it being 4/8, it went down to 3/8. Why did they do this? Well, reasons. It was in a failed attempt. I point out the word failed. A failed attempt to reduce hunting. So let's take a step back. Here is a nice picture. You can see it's nice, isn't it? We've got in the foreground here. We've got what look like some F-27s, concrete sleepers with what will be 113A rail and some PR401A pan clips. The PR401As are the same as the golden Pandrel clip, by the way. If you recognise that, love that famous squiggle shape down here. These ones. These are PR401As. Those clips. These are F-27s, probably F-27 sleeper. They might be BSs or A's. It's kind of hard. Yeah, I'd have to see them. But yeah, they are lovely. And there's 113A rail, very likely. Interestingly, in the background, you can see some fast clips on, and these holes mean that these are steel sleepers. These are steel sleepers because it's a very light bit of track. This is the line from York to Malton. Actually, this is the level crossing. Is it near Cramb? Kind of near the Abbey. It's all very lovely around there, but you cross over here I cross over here regularly when I'm doing cycles. Anyway, I digress. The point being, this track, you'll see loads of this track around, and whenever you see these older kind of looking, slightly dustier looking sleepers, these older sleepers, the chances are their track gauge is 1432, not 1435. Here's a nice close up showing said sleeper. There's a nice PR401A. And there's the nylon underneath that actually holds it in place. It's a classic orange biscuit. They're called biscuits as well. And you can see here is a running edge that has not had any traffic on it for a very long time. Actually, where is this track? I took pictures of this somewhere. It was somewhere that I could get nice and close up to it and take a picture of it. I can't remember exactly where it was. But anyway, looks very shiny, doesn't it? Not. Very rusty. Whatever. But concrete sleeper, fine. Also, don't worry too much about this dent here. It's on very good ballast, though. The ballast looks in terrific condition. I wonder where I took this picture. I can't remember. Anyway, those of you who are Patreon supporters will recognise this is one of the tiers. Shout out to everyone who's an F-27 sleeper. So, 1432 gauge. Now, here's an image of some hunting. So, what is hunting? Hunting is this oscillation, this sort of sinusoidal oscillation of the wheel set. So here you can see a wheel set. This is a wheel set. You've got an axle. And you've got an axle there, there's an axle, and you've got a wheel here. And it's kind of got this sort of, it's going out to here and then out to kind of here. You can see it's got this sinusoidal motion kind of going back and forth. That's looking at it from kind of side on, and this is top down. And you can see that this kind of, it's this sort of twisting, yawing motion in plan. So this is just happening. This is the natural motion of the wheels, and all wheels do. This is the behaviour of wheel sets on track. Generally, ideally, you want to damp this out, and this is where yaw dampers come in. Actually, if we whiz back to, can we do that? Oh no, it's two. It's past the credits. It's not worth it. If you remember that picture, if you go back in the video to the picture of the IET, the yaw dampers that had taken a bit of the brunt of the front end of a Range Rover. The yaw dampers there looking pretty intact still, and those yaw dampers actually help reduce this. But in the 60s, BR hadn't really worked out yaw dampers. Wickens was still working his magic, and so there was a belief that what we can do if we reduce the track gauge, we're reducing the amount of space that the wheel set can move within, and potentially we're going to then therefore reduce those hunting effects. And the hunting effects were causing problems for all sorts of vehicles. It wasn't just high-speed vehicles, high-speed rail vehicles. It was actually also, although that was a problem, it was actually a lot of it was empty freight wagons. The hunting effect could end up with wagons just entirely derailing themselves and flinging themselves up in a tree, literally. So let's go back to this little blip here, and you can see when it happened. It happened between at the point at which we went from the F-19 sleepers here, 4 foot 8.5 inches. There are 4 foot 8.5 inches. To the F-23 sleeper, which is arguably the first modern pre-stressed sleeper. They're using the F-19s both used sort of SHC fastenings, which are kind of this. If you can imagine the sleeper, there's the sleeper, and they kind of where you've got the rail running here like this. There's like a flat plate like this, like a flat plate that sort of pins down, and then there's a loop here that kind of holds it on. So that the actual plate looks like kind of like this, with the rail is here. This is a dreadful sketch, and there's kind of a hoop that the plate sort of sits in. You'll see a few of those. There's loads of those still around. I've actually got a picture. I've probably got dozens of pictures. In fact, I'm sure I do because I've taken pictures of all these types. Anyways, SHC clips, kind of irrelevant. That was on the F-19, but the F-23 was a Pandrol clip fastening. It was the first integral, I believe, the first integral fitting of or standardized integral fitting of the Pandrol clip, a bit like this sleeper here. So it didn't look dissimilar to this, except that the sleeper, rather than having that was a dreadful sketch. Rather than having sort of shapes like this with the square end, F-23s have like a shape like this. There we are. F-23s have this sort of slope here. But yeah, first kind of mass-produced major rollout of Pandrol sleepers. But they made the decision in developing this. They decided, right, we're gonna reduce track gauge to 1432, and so they did. There we are. And they didn't then reverse that until the 90s, when the first post F-27 sleepers were really kind of getting developed. You can see. So here's F-27, F-27s, F-28s. Here's an EF-28, which is a shallow depth sleeper. But they started adding, before it became standard, they started adding this 5 here in front of. So if you see a 5, so probably the most common that you'll see around, you'll see 5 F-40s. You'll see 5 F-40 written on the kind of the shoulder of the sleeper, and it's an F-40 sleeper, which is kind of the last of the F-type sleeper family. So it's kind of a development of the F-27, the last F-type family, but with track gauge of 1435, not 1432. This is a stupid designation, because if you want, say, 5 F-40 sleepers, you go, can I have 5 F-40s, please? And then someone's going to be like, do they want 5 F-40s, or do they want a bunch of 5 F-40 sleepers? I don't know. So anyway, thankfully we don't really use those. Well, we don't use them at all anymore. It's very much out of date, because the standard sleeper is the G44. Hooray! Right. Oh yeah. Interestingly, thanks to John Turner of the Models of Hull collection. By the way, these are some of my favourite pictures of Colton Junction. In fact, weirdly, this is the screen. This is currently on my third screen over here, or screen number 1, which is also my desktop background on that screen. If you've watched my other channels, it's a bit weird having this picture up. Anyway, here's a picture of Colton Junction when it was built, looking very beautiful. So they so it was actually on the Selby diversion, where it was a brand new bit of railway, that the realization happened that this wasn't working. So when they were testing, here's a special. Here's British Rail Research running their test train back and forth along the Selby diversion. They used F-23 sleepers here, I believe. F-23s. F-23. These F-23 sleepers, a lot of which are still in use on the Selby diversion, by the way. I mean, they last ages, it's fine. If the ballast is well kept and geometry is well maintained, sleepers, ballast, even rails can last a very long time. Certainly sleepers and ballast can last a very long time. So they actually found that hunting was still happening. So on the existing track, you could make the argument, well, the formation is issues, and there are other features and things and eccentricities and all the baggage that an existing railway has, and we can't determine absolutely that 1432 is not working. Whereas the Selby diversion, brand new railway, everything built perfectly, no ballast memory, no this, no that, and they still had hunting on their 1432. And this is the point at which they realised, this ain't working. And that was in 1981. And it took until 1996 before that changed for good. So there we are. Anyway, there's some tidbits. So, of course, so BR Research were, meanwhile, kind of way back in the 60s, BR Research had already, the Civil Engineering Department had made this journey on their own, but BR Research had already develop yaw dampers and put them into action. Here's some pictures of them doing the actual research on there's some axles being tested there. You see axle testing kit, wheeling along, doing things, the rolling track, and just generally testing things excitingly. It's spinning the wheels here. It's all very marvelous high-tech technology and joyous. Yes. So that research is what gave us, all the lovely wheel rail interface testing is what then gave us APTP. APTE is APTE, which in turn then gave us APTP, the prototype. Sorry, there's some GIFs. Makeagif.com, thank you. Which of course then ultimately led to the Pacer. Famously wonderful use of that technology, but anyway, that's by the by. So that's hunting. That's why 1432 was used for a bit, and then finally realised it was a stupid idea.